Hello and welcome to the Find Info World channel. Today we are going to talk about living your life on purpose. A lot of people today live life without having any deep connections or purposes. They are so busy looking after the daily expectations that more often than not, stopping to take stock of things is something not many indulge in. Just get all the info you need here in this video. Living your life on purpose. Chasing a career or studies, or simply just immersing oneself in the daily requirements of the life cycle, does not really give anyone very much room to explore anything outside. This exploration would normally require the setting aside of some quiet time and concentration, in both body and mind, and in the hectic surroundings of most individuals. This is not an indulgence that they are prepared to give attention to. Some would even go as far as saying that it would be a waste of time and effort, thus brushing aside such acts as unimportant and silly. Discover your purpose. For the more discerning few, the exercise of finding one's life purpose is anything but frivolous. Finding one's purpose in life will help to give the individual a real picture of either his or her capabilities and put these into action to achieve the purpose perceived. It gives the individual the zest for life instead of just simply existing day to day on mundane and often exhausting and stressful regimens. Identifying the purpose of one's existence also allows the individual to enjoy a certain level of fulfillment and peace, as the energy used to strive towards the end goal becomes well worth the effort. It also provides the individual with a concept to live by, and the positive energy it will help the individual through thick and thin. People who are able to find their purpose are usually people on a mission to get the most out of their lives, and they are also usually very driven, focused and energized. Keeping healthy both mentally and physically are the common traits of those who seem to have identified their purpose in life. Find a satisfying and fulfilling career. There are very few people who actually enjoy what they do, and take pride in doing it to the best of their abilities. This is mainly due to the fact that such careers chosen are usually not done with the individual wanting to find satisfaction and fulfillment, but rather to simply exist until something better comes along. The danger here is that sometimes nothing better comes along, and the individual ends up settling for just anything, and eventually comes to a point where he or she is unable to get out of the rut they are in. Find your path. The following are some points to consider in the quest to find a satisfying and fulfilling career while exploring all options available. Perhaps the first and often the most difficult step to take would be to actually seriously identify the career that might present these two elements within its package. Satisfaction and fulfillment should never be disregarded as an indulgence. It is often the most important feature that will keep the individual driven to do and be the best. Once this particular exercise is thoroughly explored, then the individual will be able to move on and look for positions that are based on this very basic finding. However, caution should be exercised to ensure the individual stays realistic and in touch with the current market requirements and business trends. Next, there needs to be a lot of research, analysis and help exercised in order to acquire the information on the ideal position sought. This part of the exercise may include the seeking the expertise of a mentor, having dialogues with those in similar positions, having in-depth discussions with career guidance counselors, and other avenues of gaining information from those actually involved in the line the individual is interested in. First-hand information is a lot better and more beneficial for the person who is seriously considering the particular career for satisfaction and fulfillment elements. Understanding your true calling. Most people go through life doing a job just to get the paycheck at the end of the month. Most spend nearly all of it on bills, and rarely do something they actually like. Others are happy at work and have large amounts of money. However, for the vast majority this is but a dream yet to be fulfilled. Identify your calling. This causes the individual to lose any passion felt, as the job does not in any way stimulate the mind and body, to give the best possible results it can. Being stuck in the seemingly endless cycle does not encourage the individual to look to the future with anticipation and excitement. Therefore, to get the best out of life itself, the individual would be required to spend some time and effort to actually explore the possibility of understanding his or her true calling and working on fulfilling this call. The positive outcome of being able to understand the true calling has far-reaching effects on the individual's life in general. Everything will seem better and clearer, and the individual will eventually be able to find happiness in the most simple of things. Reaching this level of mental and physical connection is something most people are never able to enjoy through their lifetime, due to their inability to make concerted efforts to understand the true calling of their existence. Being able to deal positively and honestly with the feelings and thoughts will help the individual better identify the inner voice that is so in tune with the true calling meant for him or her. Taking the time to stop and think really hard about what really excites, stimulates and interests them will help to narrow down the quest of finding the true calling they were designed to embark upon. Using your intuition to fulfill your life purpose. Tapping in the intuitive side of an individual is not something that involves magic or guesswork. Contrary to most people's thinking, intuition is actually a very real and often proven element within the human mind. This intuition is plainly explained as the body working together with the mind to tell the individual something without the needs to use the other 5 senses to make it understood. Examine it well. Intuition is usually closely connected to or associated with women, as men are perceived to be rather too shallow both in body and mind to be able to tap into or feel such depth the intuitions normally dictates. Feeling something without actually knowing the source of the prompting could be categorized as intuition, and when an individual chooses to ignore such promptings, there are usually dire consequences to be paid. A lot of people, especially women, rely heavily on the particular style of seeking and getting answers or solutions to your situation or problems that is weighing heavily on their mind. A more complex and scientifically acknowledged form would be the multisensory perception, whereby the individual would claim to experience a hunch or an acute prompting about a particular element. This is a very sophisticated system that connects with elements within and outside the human body and mind to produce enlightening perceptions in general. With practice, this exercise can be called upon and interpreted accordingly, while still acknowledging that it does require some extensive understanding which, unless the individual is tuned into, will not bring forth the desired results. Being able to practice being intuitive will certainly help when wanting to explore life's challenges and directions for the individual. Finding your purpose through serving others. Not everyone is lucky enough to be able to indulge in the activity of finding their purpose in life, and this is mainly due to the fact that they are mostly so caught up in the daily challenges of life that this activity seems to be always benched. When this goes on for years without any end in sight, the individual eventually loses the will to finding his or her purpose in life, and instead opts to continue drifting in life. Help others help you. The following are some areas to consider, as it should give an interested individual some indication as to how one can go about finding the purpose of life. For some it is very easy to identify the things that make them happy and excited, while for others it may take a little time, effort and exploration. There is also the possibility that once identified, the exercise that brings forth joy and fulfillment is not measurable or accepted by society as beneficial, thus forcing the individual to rethink and perhaps even consider discarding the idea altogether. Therefore, there is a fine line between indulging in frivolous activities and indulging in activities that are considered beneficial to both the individual and those around. Discovering the natural gifts and the joys of exploring and using these gifts to help others may eventually cause the individual to be able to identify the areas that most create passion and excitement from within. Fulfillment is usually found when the individual is able to see the fruits of labor benefiting other while at the same time enjoying the whole process. Exploring various different types of ways of serving people may eventually help the individual identify the one that most gives fulfillment. Getting involved in organizing or facilitating events for the less fortunate can be a very fulfilling experience. Are you living your values? In order to be able to effectively live by one's values, there should first be an exercise to identify these values clearly, and to ensure they are the defining points of the individual's general life and the journey it takes. You and your values. Most people have a few core values they live by, and understand the extent they are willing to go to ensure these core values are not compromised in any way, will show the inner character of the individual. Some of these core values may include elements of honesty, hard-working styles, perseverance and many other actions or characteristics that define the individual. These values are the elements that usually carry the individual through tough situations, where decisions made are based on these values. Priorities are usually given to this mindset and judgment calls are made in line with this. Thus it is important to be able to fall back on some really good and strong value systems. The important question that should be the focus of the individual's life would be if he or she was living life according to these values, or if there were numerous compromises being made in order to be pleasing or accommodating to others. If the individual finds that compromise seems to be the general agenda in their lives, the outcome will eventually cause the individual to perhaps become a negative person, as frustration takes hold and values are abandoned. Therefore, besides the exercise of exploring the value system the individual perceives to adhere to, it is perhaps more important to ensure these values are completely understood and practiced on a daily basis. This is what eventually defines the individual as different, and help make it possible to happily acknowledge that they value their beliefs greatly. Knowing that one is living according to a value system that is part of the mind and body will definitely bring about a deep sense of satisfaction. What are your innate talents? Finding one talent is something that could be quite a challenge, especially if that talent is not really evident and has not surfaced significantly in any way. However, exerting some effort to actually take the time to find this area of perceived gifting will eventually help the individual to attempt to incorporate this talent into the everyday experiences, thus effectively ensuring a more enjoyable and fulfilled life. Tapping in. There is a lot of misguided acceptance that an individual will eventually control and influence the mind and body to learn to accept circumstances and make the best of them. This may be true to a certain extent, but it will not really help the individual to bring out the talents that may be hidden deep within. Most times these talents are not used simply because the individual is really unaware of its existence, thus making it impossible to capitalize on them. Then there is also the thought process that encourages people to strive for being the very best in whatever endeavor they decide to take on. Any success is then related and connected to the perceived talent it took to bring the endeavor to its current success state. This too is not really the inner talent that is so popularly talked about. The following are some guidelines that could be adopted in the quest to find the individual's talents. Being able to identify the difference between learned skills and skill that are apparent through inner motivation and drive. Being able to connect to something and feel really complete and comfortable without much prompting will also be another indication of the innate talent. Searching for jobs that would seem to suit the individual both in body and mind can only be accommodated if there is some chance of talent displayed. Your interest and your passion. Happy people are people who have learned to be comfortable within themselves, and have the knowledge of what interests them, and what ignites their passionate side. If the individual is looking for a happy and fulfilled life, then it would be worth exploring the various ways of finding this often elusive passion and interest. Ignite your passion. The following are some ways to help discover the elements that could call the interest and ignite the passion of the individual. Almost everyone is able to identify a hobby or an interest that keeps them happy, focused and feeling useful. This is a good place to start when it comes to the exercise of finding further interests and passions. Understanding that this may require the individual to take the very important decision to step out of the comfort zone is essential. Being open to new experiences will also help the individual to explore other possibilities that may surprisingly ignite the interests and passion of the individual. There are many things to be learnt and experienced when making the effort to try new things, and if the results are positive and enjoyable, then exploring further would be the next step. Communicating and staying informed of anything and everything will also help the individual come into contact with elements that could create feelings of interest and passion. There are always new developments to explore, and actively participating in such exercises would be rewarding in itself. Facing fears is also another way to find a person's interest and passions. Often people are afraid of being rejected or turning in work that is considered below standard, thus keeping them from venturing into making an attempt at these things. Overcoming these sometimes irrational fears can unfold surprising capabilities. Searching your life purpose with numerology. Life in general is confusing enough, without the added confusion of having to figure out who we really are and our purpose. Most people try and define who they are, using the ever-common method, by linking their lives to what they do, but this does not really define the person. So beat the confusion. When questioned, most people respond according to what they do, rather than really know who they are in terms of purpose in life. The idea is to be able to differentiate between the two, and really explore the possibilities through finding one's purpose in life, and one way of doing this would be to turn to the art of numerology. The idea of using numerology can seem to be confusing, and a rather skeptical one, but by simply using facts such as the name and date of birth, an individual is able to gain some insight into the realm of finding the life's purpose. Some sources believe that numerology does help to steer an individual according to the path of life mapped out by connecting factors that may be beyond comprehension. Numerology is sometimes considered an ancient occult that helps an individual to find the direction in the life through a series of numbers and their connecting meanings which the life purpose reflects. The two types of numerology would be Chaldean and Pythagorean, and these are supposed to help unlock the life directions as seemingly as a manual would. Using the life purpose number, which is basically calculated on the letters of the name, the individual would be able to learn the purpose of life based on the personality traits that might help to send the individual in a certain direction. Never be afraid to pursue your purpose of life. Many people fail to live purposeful lives simply because they are not really in tune with their mind and body, and are more focused in exploring the things that most ignite their passions. Getting caught up with the everyday challenges seem to force an individual to put their own personal needs and desires on hold, and focus instead on just getting through life's challenges. Live your purpose. However, for the lucky few who are rebelling against the need to simply submit to life's challenges, there is some hope in finding and pursuing life purpose to the fullest measures possible. Understanding that the purpose in life has a higher importance when measured against achieving just goals is something to consider in the search. Ideally, the purpose in life arises from the talents and values of an individual, and this is easy to decipher if these facts are obvious to the individual. However, the confusion usually arises when the individual is unaware of his or her talents, which is commonly confused with skill. Still, the most telling elements that can steer the individual towards a clearer picture of the purpose in life would be to connect it with valuable insights gained by immersing oneself into different activities. The comfort and enjoyment derived from certain actions will give the individual a clue as the direction towards the purpose in life. There should never be the element of fear or discouragement that should be allowed to dominate the individual's thoughts. to keep the individual from trying new and seemingly impossible things. Fear is something that should not be allowed to creep into the equation, as it is often the crippling point that stops the individual from pushing limits to seek answers. Exploring and staying excited about new things will always help the individual gain more insight to the purpose in life. So to wrap up, don't sell yourself short by not living your life by its purpose. It may not be easy to identify what exactly your life's purpose is, but once you have discovered the purpose, it will be well worth it. Those who have found their life's purpose live much happier lives than those who choose to just get by day. You deserve to be happy. Start living life with purpose now. Don't forget to subscribe to the Find Info World channel, and like and share this video with people you think it will help. You can also visit findinfoworld.com for additional information on this topic, or by clicking the link below. Thank you for watching.